Hello and welcome to the Scotland Rugby News podcast. Ahead of today's game between Scotland and Wales in Cardiff, I'm joined by Gavin Harper, who is in Cardiff. How's things down there, Gav?
Yeah, good, thanks. I think there's a real excitement here. Obviously, the Six Nations kicked off last night, a huge game in Marseille, but from a Scotland point of view, it all begins today. And yeah, it's been great to see so many Scotland fans about Cardiff this morning and this afternoon, and hopefully Scotland can send them into Saturday evening with a first win here for more than 2 decades.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's been a while, but I think there's a lot of good feeling about the place that things will maybe change this time and Scotland can get that victory.
Yeah, it certainly feels like that. So often Scotland have come here in the past with a bit of hope, maybe a wee bit of expectation, but they've kind of flown under the radar somewhat. A disappointing World Cup, but a really settled squad, and I think that'll help today when times get tough, as they no doubt will. With the roof obviously closed, 75,000 people in the stadium, and most of them will be Welsh. I think that experience of Finn Russell, Sione Tuipulotu, Richie Gray up front can help Scotland and maybe guide them a first victory in 22 years.
Yeah, we'll just talk about the roof closure, because I think it's been an interesting sort of aspect to the game this week, because obviously Gregor on Thursday spoke about it, saying that he thought it was the right decision to keep it open because of he thinks it makes the ball greasy and all the rest of it. But then also there was that they decided then to close it on Friday morning. They decided that it was probably the best thing to do. Why do you think they did that? Do you think it's the right thing to do?
I think it's an interesting debate. Scotland yesterday were quite keen to tell everybody that whether the roof was open, closed, or somewhere in between, it didn't really matter. I don't necessarily agree with that, in that I think they've handed Wales a bit of a psychological advantage. I think if they wanted the roof closed as it is, they should have made that position clear. Clearly, Scotland's position was that the roof was to be open to quell the atmosphere, but they've obviously gone back on that. Finn said yesterday that a change in the weather forecast was the reason for that, but I'm not sure I buy that either, because from when I was checking my forecast for travelling, it looked pretty bleak. The waterproofs were all in the bag, so yeah, I'm not 100% sure I buy that. I think Gregor would have had a pretty detailed analysis of the forecast, and all his analysts look into it. So yeah, maybe 1-0 Warren Gatland on that front.
Yeah. Also, you spoke to Finn yesterday. Seemed pretty confident going by some of the stuff he said. He seemed to be looking forward to it and kind of focusing on Scotland's own game instead of worrying about what Wales can do, because also it's a very different Wales team to what we're normally used to over the last couple of years. So how was he, and how did he seem ahead of the game?
Yeah, I mean, he seemed like Finn, pretty relaxed, pretty confident. I think it's an interesting one, because on one hand, we don't necessarily know what the players from Wales are going to deliver in terms of their inexperience and relative sort of newcomers to the international stage, but they're a Warren Gatland team, so they'll be fit, and they won't shy away from the kind of physical aspect. And I think that's probably where Scotland can have to impose themselves, because they've got a backline to match anybody in the championship. I think if Scotland can win parity up front or dominant up front, then it's hard to see a way for Wales to kind of wrestle the game back. But no, Finn was confident, as you say, very much focused on what Scotland are doing, and I think, as he said, maybe with a point to prove after such a disappointing World Cup.
Yeah. You also were at the Wales press conference yesterday too. What was the feeling about with them? Were they confident? How did they seem ahead of this one?
Yeah, there's definitely a bit of bite there. So Adam Beard, who was Data Jenkins' partner in the second row, Adam spoke quite passionately about people not writing Wales off, and again, as Finn said, they've got a point to prove tomorrow or today, and I think it's a really interesting game because it's two sides who come into it with completely contrasting World Cups, completely contrasting squads. Scotland are pretty settled, and Wales have obviously had loads of changes, but both for different reasons have points to prove. So Wales seemed quietly confident, but I think slipping under the radar has probably been a handy thing as well for them. While all the attention's been on the likes of Ireland, France, obviously, and a much changed England team.
Yeah, if we look at those other games as well, so Ireland won last night. Right now, let me just confirm the score. It was England are 21-17 up just now, so that's obviously, if that stays the same, it'll be 2 away wins. Scotland also looking to make it a third over the weekend. So it's pretty interesting start to the situations with that. 2 away wins already, or 1 away win and 1 looking like an away win.
Yeah, it's really interesting because Six Nations away wins are so hard to come by, and in a championship that's so short, you obviously have to get off to the best possible start. And that's obviously French hopes of a Grand Slam are gone with their result last night. Italy will still fancy their chances of causing an upset in Rome this afternoon, although they're behind. And Scotland's record here speaks for itself. So it's away wins are hard to come by, and it would be certainly interesting that there's potentially 3 on the opening weekend of this year.
Yeah, definitely interesting. But yeah, if we kind of look at Scotland again, we spoke about it the other day, but it is such just a huge opportunity for them. I mean, I don't think I can remember a Scotland team going down to Wales and being so confident of getting a result among the fans anyway. I think a lot of the time it's kind of going down with hope, but there does seem to be an expectation among Scotland fans that this is the year that they finally end that curse.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think we've been here in the past where we have had a wee bit of expectation. 2018 was the first game of the championship, and it didn't go well. Scotland were rundly beaten, but that was rundly beaten by a really strong Wales team, an experienced Wales team, and I think that's where there's a big difference this year in that Scotland come into this with all the experience and will know exactly what to expect from the packed out Principality Stadium, whereas some of these Welsh players, Cameron Winnett at fullback's his first cap. Alex Mann, if he comes off the bench, will win his first cap. So yeah, it's a really interesting kind of setup this afternoon. But I do think Scotland fans will have travelled this year in more expectation than they maybe have done in the past. If Scotland don't win here now, I'm not sure when they ever will.
Yeah. I mean, there is more experience in the Scotland squad, but there is some obviously who aren't experienced either. You've also got Kyle Rowe at fullback, and then a couple of potential debuts off the bench. It's going to be a big day for them, as well as it, not both sides, but also where they don't have the history of losing in Wales so heavily. So maybe they can come into it with 4 guys as well. Maybe that could be a help rather than 100.
Yeah, it's huge. I think somebody like Kyle Rowe obviously comes into the team because Blair Kinghorn's injured, but he'll bring an awful lot of experience, and he might not have played an awful lot of fullback, but I think he'll do a good job. He's in good form for Glasgow, and I think he'll be an exciting prospect this afternoon. The 2 props are a bit more unknown. Obviously, Elliot Miller-Mills is in because VP Nell's out with an injury. Jaden Sebastian's just back. He hasn't quite made it. And Alec Hepburn, I think, can take some confidence from his days with England as he makes the kind of switch over. But a big day for both of them. They can kind of put a marker down and throw their hat in the ring for the rest of the championship.
Yeah. I think it was just a quick look back at what happened last night as well in the under-20s. Obviously, it was a pretty close game until the last 10 minutes when a bit of ill-discipline cost Scotland. And again, it seemed like I think there was 5,000 in the stadium last night. It was a really good atmosphere. It's like almost something the senior team can learn from that game about how to deal with it. Because also towards the end of that game, Scotland under-20s just did it last week. But for the most part, it was a pretty good performance throughout the team, I thought.
Yeah, I think the 20s can take a lot of heart from that. Obviously, results and performances for them have been have been really disappointing over the last couple of years, but I think they'll take a lot in, although it was a defeat, and they'll be gutted with that today. I think they played really well, and I think they can certainly build on that as their championship continues. But you're right, they probably had the opportunity to win that game, but didn't close it out. And I think that's where the senior team have that advantage of people like Finn, who can help them if they do get in front, and then they bring on the more experienced guys off the bench, Jack Dempsey, Sam Skinner, even Cam Redpath. I know he's not got a huge number of caps, but he's played a fair bit of rugby. And I think they can help Scotland to kind of close the game out if they do get in front. Conversely, if Scotland, with 15-20 minutes to go, are chasing a result, they've got guys like George Horne who will add real kind of impetus off the bench.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. What do you actually make of the 6-2 split on the bench? Do you think that'll be to Scotland's advantage towards the end of the game, or are you surprised that they went that way?
Unless you tell me something I don't know, they've got both Ben Healy and Cam Redpath. But so yeah, I think 6-2 something Gregor's spoken about a little bit, in that it's not really something he's done an awful lot. But yeah, hopefully I've not read the team wrong.
Yeah, sorry, I've mixed that up. I've mixed that up with the under-20s last night. I got myself mixed up there.
Sorry. I thought I was going to have to run to some other location in the press room here in the Principality and find another team sheet.
No, I actually meant to put it the other way, because obviously there's been a lot of teams going 6-2 a lot more these days, and I think obviously it was spoke about during the week as well by John Dale that is an option, but they've also went for the 5-3 this time, and I think it's probably a lot of good options on the bench for Scotland this week.
Yeah, exactly that. I think they've got that perfect mix of people like George Horne, Ewan Ashman, Jack Dempsey, who add real impact, can up the tempo if they need to, and then somebody like a Ben Healy, who, if needs be, could come on with Finn. Ben Healy could play at fullback, I'm sure, or Finn could move out to 12, and you would have that kind of dual playmaker. So yeah, there's good options there for Scotland. I'd like to say, like we talked about earlier, the 6-2 something Gregor's done a couple of times in the past, but it's definitely not something that he kind of favours.
Yeah. I'll just ask you about what the atmosphere has been like around Cardiff, sort of yesterday, today. Obviously there's a lot of Scots travelled down. What's that been like?
Yeah, brilliant. I mean, Cardiff, for anybody who's been, it's a great place to watch a game. I came down yesterday, and there was my flight down to Bristol was packed full of Scotland fans making the short trip over, and likewise this morning. I've been in the city centre for most of the day, and I think every train's been a real mix of the kind of red jerseys and blue jerseys. So yeah, it's great to see. Scots always travel down here in great numbers, and hopefully we can the team can send them into the night with a good win.
Yeah, well, we'll finish up there. I think that's pretty much plenty of preview for us, and we'll also be back after the game to discuss what's happened. But if you want to get all the reaction and all the news about Scotland rugby, you can click on our website, go to scotlandnews.co.uk/subscribe. You get it £1 for 6 months or £12 for the year, and you'll get all the action, all the reaction, plenty of analysis from all our great contributors throughout the week. So yeah, if you want to do that, click on and do that. We'll be back after the game to discuss what's happened in Cardiff. Thanks for joining us, Bev.
Thanks, Mark. Speak to you later.